And thank you guys so much for joining. And I'm glad we were able to get Brando on here last minute.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're so happy to be here.
So,
all right, Jake. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Welcome, guys. For anybody just on the other side that wants to ask a question, please make sure to ask any questions in the questions tab. And at the end, we'll go through all of that in the Q&A session. Before we get started, as always, we're going to go through the quick disclaimer. Nothing that we're going to really talk about today is aimed at providing advice, buy, sell signals, anything like that. This is simply to kind of go over some of the features on TrendSpider, as well as kind of go over the broad markets into tomorrow, as well as learn a little bit about trade with insight. So before we kind of hand it off to them, I did want to just tell everybody a little bit about TrendSpider and the vision that we have. We are a charting platform at the base of our product, and layered on top of that is an alert system to track and watch trades for you, kind of set up in real time. So you set your trend lines, you set your fib levels, your moving averages, whatever you want to add. And then you have the system watch those levels for you. And when they're touched by price, you'll be alerted. So we do want to become the most integrated, fully kind of all-in-one trading and analysis platform once we get brokerage integration in at some point next year. And we're really for both retail and professional traders. So we do have a few different sections of features that we really have that are make our product a full product. So we've got the back testing engine, the automated technical analysis side of things, such as the trend lines and fibs, the proprietary indicators, such as the anchored VWAP from Brian Shannon, the ability to overlay multiple timeframes, something that I'll be going over today in more detail, especially on the broad market ETFs, alerts, and then some raindrop examples, which is a new way to innovate the way volume and price action are visualized. And, without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to you guys and let you guys take over on the screen share.
Great. Thank you so much. Let me get this PowerPoint started here. One second, I need to allow access for this. Apologies, one moment.
No worries.
Hey, Jake, why don't you go into your thing? I need to give my browser permissions to actually share my screen. So if you want to actually start with your introduction of TrendSpider, I think that'd be a total fine transition if you think so.
Sure. Absolutely. 1 second. Let me share my screen. All right. So I ended on the main functions. And so what I wanted to do on my end today was kind of talk a little bit about how to use TrendSpider in a real life situation and just basic technical analysis. So I have the SPY up. I've got the daily candle versus the weekly candle. And there's a few different things that I want to highlight here. One, I'll start with the weekly, showing this dashed line here. This dashed line is really interesting because it's actually the upper Bollinger Band from the monthly chart overlaid on the weekly candle. So you can see here how this price action is interacting with this longer term band. And you can see anytime price is broken through this area to the upside, i.e. in January of 2018, before the absolute rip to the downside in February of 2018. And then Also, in July of 2019, we kind of tested the upper band and pulled back from 301 all the way down to around 281. Now we are kind of getting close to that upper band again. And what's, kind of complementary to the fact that we're at the top of this band and we have pulled back over the last couple of years is the fact that the percent range is starting to show negative divergence. And negative divergence is something that I like to use in technical analysis. It's not something that, is automated by TrendSpider or anything like that. I simply just created a line segment here and drew these individual lines. And so what I'm looking for is the price to close at a higher high on the price, price, close at a higher high. But then I'm looking for the percent range to find a lower high. And so you can see here the upward sloping line here versus the downward sloping line here. And so notice that when this starts to materialize and when you start to really break down through this -30 area on the percent range, that's when things really start to sometimes waterfall. This was a little bit of a, exaggerated example here just because this was one of the bigger moves down we've had in quite some time. But even here, we did have a nice slight pullback. And I'm by no means bearish at this point because, the market is kind of the only place to put your money right now. You don't have a lot of other places to get a return on your investment, like fixed income, anything like that. A lot of places around the world have negative interest rates right now. So the market is, continually going to be a bubble until interest rates have to go up. Whenever that case is, I'm not sure. But for now, the reason I say that is because I do think we still need to pull back a little bit. We've gone straight up, bottoming out around 284 and pretty much straight up to 314. So that's a pretty healthy move up. And we are at the top of this band. So a healthy, 20 handles to the downside would be, probably much needed. I'm not sure if we would even get close to that, but there is that gap at the 294 area that I am keeping an eye on. So I do like to watch gaps and, watch if they do fill. Generally they do. Sometimes it takes a little longer than others, but a lot of the time these are where I get my targets from. So, that's where I would expect it if we did just have a huge move down. But one thing that I wanted to do as well is kind of show you how I would get ready for a bigger move to the downside. So as I mentioned here, I'm looking for this percent range to drop below about -30. So if we go here to this horizontal line, every time we really broke down through this about, let's go to -30, that's kind of when things really started to accelerate. Same thing here. We had a continuation down. Same thing here. We did really start to increase the momentum here in late July when we did break down through -30. So naturally, that's going to be the spot that I'm looking for. So without having to code anything in, I can go to create alert. I can go to multi-factor alert, and then I can go to add parameter, and I can go to the weekly indicator, and I just go to the Williams percent range, 14. And I want to know whenever that has crossed down through the constant level of -30. So when that happens, I'll know that, maybe things are really starting to move to the downside quicker at this, at a quicker pace. So that would be something that I put into the system. I can go to my watch list now or alert list here in the tools button, click alerts, and then this particular alert is Silly Jang. Sometimes we have some interesting randomly generated names. But so this is the alert I just created. And so you can see here, I'm just looking for that weekly Williams percent range to cross down through -30. So that is something I'm watching definitely on the weekly. On the daily, we've got kind of this weird setup here. And, there's a ton of ways that I could kind of draw areas of support and resistance here. I could, maybe draw an area here. This was kind of a double top. And then this was the area of a breakout. So do we, come back down here? But I personally like to use diagonals. I know you guys are big on the horizontal side, John, but I do like to use the diagonals here. And so all you need to do is click trends, and you'll see that these trend lines automatically pop up on the screen. And, at first glance, it looks like there's a ton of lines here. And yes, there are quite a few lines that would make the chart pretty noisy. But your job as a user is to look at the lines that you really want to pay attention to and lock those in. So for me, I really want to lock in this line here, just double clicked on it. I want to lock in this line here, double clicked on it. And then I'm going to turn the trends feature off because I'm done with that feature. I've got my ascending wedge kind of painted here. And then I go on to the next step of my process. So that's something that is really useful. A lot of people will turn on the trends feature and get a little overwhelmed. And a lot of people may turn on the trends feature and try to, start deleting lines. But it's a lot more efficient to actually just double click on the lines you want to save and lock on the chart and then just turn the feature off. So for me, the next process to kind of get ready into tomorrow would be setting an alert on each side of this wedge. So, if we break to the upside, that could mean that we're kind of going to, break further up. And generally an ascending wedge can be bearish. So that would be a little surprising to me, but anything's possible in this market. But either way, I want to know when the status quo changes, whether the price breaks to the downside or the upside. So I can go here, right click, create an alert at capture some of that price action that didn't necessarily hit exactly that precise line. So if I go all the way to the left, you'll see that this recent kind of topping here did not hit that line. But if I would have added a little sensitivity here, I would have been able to capture that. So that's something that's really powerful. The ability to define the way price action is touching this area, whether it's breaking through it, actually going through the line, just touching anywhere within this purple area, or actually bouncing where you've got a single candle and then another candle that pulls back, that defines an actual bounce. So for me, I just want to do a touch. Whenever the price touches that area, I want to be alerted. Whenever the 5-minute candle closes in this area, that's when I want to be alerted. I don't necessarily want to be alerted when the daily candle closes. That may be too late. I want to know whenever the 5-minute candle closes anywhere within that purple area. I can name this ascending wedge resistance, have it expire in, let's say, 20 days, and then have it trigger one time. So then I go and create the alert. It's locked on the chart, and then I can quickly do that for the other side as well. A touch with, let's say, medium sensitivity here. We'll do ascending wedge support. Support. Have it expire in 20 days, triggered one time, and then we can kind of move on with our day. So all in all, SPY, this is something that, was partly my discretionary analysis, but it was also complemented by the system. I was able to still kind of view this ascending wedge, but lock in those trend lines that TrendSpider gave me to do that. So this is an example of SPY. I do want to do another one on the Qs. So the Qs have been quite interesting here, especially considering just the size of this wick from the other day. But it's the same thing. It literally respected that ascending wedge support perfectly. And so you can see that here. I clearly wasn't watching the market enough. It's the wick is showing up on all platforms, but it just seems absolutely crazy that this happened on 3 days ago. But anyways, you can see how perfectly we bounced here right back up to the middle of this wedge. And now we're trying to kind of figure out what's going on here. So one thing that I wanted to mention here is, we have this kind of setup here where we've got this wick and the body kind of right at the top. Some people would call that a hammer. I call a hammer this setup at the bottom of a reversal area on support. But I'm not exactly sure what you would call this. But it's definitely showing that buyers stepped up even when sellers tried to push price down. So, each time this candle has occurred in the last couple of weeks, we've got quite a move to the upside afterwards. So it'll be interesting to see if we get some follow through tomorrow with this specific candle. I do want to go to the weekly real quick as well. You can see here on the weekly with the percent range, the same exact setup here. You've got this price action kind of hitting new highs, and then you've got lower highs here on the percent range. Quite the move down. Once again here, right at this upper band on the from the monthly chart, and this is the weekly candle, nice move down, and we're kind of right back at that same spot. So whether we continue down is still, something that we don't necessarily know what's going to happen. Nobody really does. But when you've got that much selling pressure in a week, that shows that there's not a ton of, demand down there absorbing any supply. So this is a pretty massive hanging man at this point. We'll have to see what happens into the rest of the week to end it off tomorrow. But, just keep in mind of this divergence. It really doesn't matter if the market's going up, down. There's always going to be a trade. But, it is something to just keep in mind that the last couple times this has formed, there has been a little bit of a pullback. Going on to the next setup here is GDX that I wanted to go over. And John, whenever you're ready to take back over, let me know.
Sure, yeah, I can take over whenever you're ready. I didn't want to cut you off. I just had to add permissions to my browser.
Oh, perfect. Okay, sweet. 1 second, I'll go over GDX and I'll hand it off to you.
Perfect, sounds good.
So GDX is one that this is another kind of downward sloping channel that TrendSpider actually found, right? So the lines were provided to me. I just double clicked on the ones that I wanted to lock in, and then I was able to set up this nice channel. On the weekly, it's interesting to see here how the percent range has become oversold and is starting to pop up again. In the last few times we have seen that in gold, there has been a rather decent little short-term move to the upside, and sometimes even a longer-term move to the upside as well. So that's something that I really wanted to show you guys. There are a couple other things that I wanted to show, but I do want to make sure John's got ample time to go over everything they want to go over. So I will hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Jake. All right, let me go ahead and get the screen share started here. And let's go ahead. Do you guys see my screen now?
All good.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Jake, so much for the introduction. My name is John, a team member here at the Trade with Insight team. I also have Brando as well, who will be speaking later. Just wanted to kind of review our topic and strategy here. We're going to start with exploring options trading strategies using charts. We'll be using the TrendSpider platform, overviewing our strategy there. And before we get started, I just want to leave our contact information here on the screen. You can email us, direct message us on our public Twitter, or view more information about our service on our website. We love hearing from members from the FinTwit community. So if you guys ever have any questions, question about the market, account management, etc., we like talking to people and learning about the community and doing what we can to give back. So we're going to kind of start with the agenda here. We're going to overview the team. I'm going to overview the platform, and then Brando's going to take over and start overviewing the service, strategy, mission. We're going to do live chart analysis, followed by a question and answer segment. If you guys have any questions, please do hold on to them to that point, and we'll review charts or anything regarding strategies when we get there. And for those who stay to the end, we have a special promotion for people who are attending this conference to join our service. Without further ado, going to kind of jump into the team here. So myself, my name is John. I'm a full stack software engineer and stock options trader. I'm primarily responsible here for the tech operations of our platform. Brando here is our lead trader, but I myself take part in the development and the delivery of the content that gets provided to you guys. Over the past few years, I've kind of noticed a lot of subpar services and the way that teaching complicated strategies that lead users to like a cyclical path of failure, as well as the flaws in the execution, delivery, and lack of educational material and user experience. our service and website, strives to deliver a streamlined learning experience, and unlike any other service out there, providing all the information at hand. So we have Brando, who's our lead trader here in the Trade with Insight platform. He's been a stock options trader for 9 years, and he has a simplified approach to stock options trading, utilizing support and resistance levels. We have a unique experience together, delivering this streamlined educational approach and platform to help individuals reach the next level of their trading careers. And our end goal is to make traders self-sufficient through our platform and content that we deliver. We're going to go ahead and start talking about the platform here. We have 2 components. We have a private Twitter service where we post our alerts, commentary, and notable events. We also have the ability to direct message us if you guys ever have any questions. And then we also have the website, which has a streamlined sign-up process, unlike other people out there. You can quickly authenticate with Twitter, get signed up within minutes, as opposed to waiting days or hours to join our service. On our platform here, we have access to all of our educational documents, which Brando will go into in a bit, all of our weekly conference call recordings, as well as the ability to manage and update your billing settings. You'll know when your service is set to renew. You can update your credit card information, etc., giving the user the full transparency into the subscription service here. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Brando, the lead trader of Trade with Insight.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Brando, and I'm going to go over the service really quickly, and then I'll dive into more of an introduction to who I am and our strategy and our mission here with the service. So first, we offer a monthly subscription. There's a 2-day risk-free trial. So if you don't like it, you'll get fully refunded. And then we also offer live trade alerts. So when I alert my trades, I provide all the entries, the exits, the position sizes. And depending on the position size, it'll give you an idea of how confident I am with the trade. So it'll give you an idea of the strength of the trade. And then I also provide targets, stop losses, and the reasoning to provide the insight as to why we enter the trade. And this helps you give an idea. It gives you an idea of how a full-time trader trades. It gives you an idea of how I trade on a daily basis and what kind of trends I look for. So we also provide charts with ideas. So I post charts bi-weekly that include key support levels for support and resistance. And then I provide trade ideas as well. So typically on Sundays, I'll post roughly about 10 charts, maybe more. And then on Wednesdays, I will update charts that are the most relevant for the rest of the week. And then I also do a conference call on Sundays where I'll go over the charts that I posted, and then I'll go over market sentiment. And I also have a question and answer segment. So if anyone has questions, I try to stay as long as possible and get all the questions answered. And then each day I post a daily market recap. So I think this is really important for every trader because each day in the market's different. So the same stock that you trade on Monday may not be good for Tuesday. And I think it's a good idea for traders to have an idea of what to look for. So in the document, I post about 10 different stocks that I'm interested in, and then I'll post key levels, especially if they changed for support and resistance. And then I include a plan of what to look for the next day. All right. And then I also provide a weekly trade recap. So every trade that I send out as a trade alert, it's all time-stamped, and I include the reasoning why we entered the trade, why we exited the trade, and I also include the profit and loss for each position. The reason why I do this is because I want to take accountability for all the trades that I enter. Most traders ignore their losses. It's natural to do this because it's too painful to face it, right? And it's important for each trader to study their losses if you want to really improve your trading results. And then lastly, I created a bunch of different educational documents. Topics include technical analysis, trading psychology, finding support and resistance levels. And then the most important one, I think, is the criteria to determine the strength of a trade and properly, sufficiently positioning your size behind that as well. And I have a couple other documents too that build off of these core topics. So yeah, so basically with the service, one thing that we try to promote is not blindly following trade alerts. Our goal here is to help teach traders how to be self-sufficient, teach them how to learn how to find their own trades. And we really believe that combining the alerts with the education, it can really help you guys become a more well-rounded trader. All right. So yeah, so that's pretty much what our service includes. So now I'm going to go over our strategy and mission. All right, so I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm going to go a little bit more of what I focus on, and yeah. So yep, as John stated, my name's Brando. I've been trading options for 9 years. So I mainly trade weekly options with a focus on stocks with the strongest momentum each day. So why did we start a subscription service? So for the past few years, I was a spectator on Twitter under a different name, just browsing the FinTwit community and seeing what people thought about finance and the economy. And I saw a lot of sub-services that traders followed, and some of them I knew personally. And some of these guys I even taught how to trade. And I didn't think they were experienced enough to be teaching this type of subject. So I felt obligated to reach out and see if anyone was interested in learning what I had to offer. So I started posting my ideas daily, and over time I started gaining more followers and getting more traction on Twitter. So it's been about a year now since we started the service, and we have over 300 members. And numbers don't lie. People seem to like the information we provide, and we strive to continue to improve our service each day. I'm very grateful for how receptive the community's been. And I think there's no better way to teach other retail traders than from a person who's been in their shoes before. When I first started trading, it was much more difficult because I learned everything the hard way. I learned everything on my own. I used to bet really big on certain trades. Some trades worked out. I made 25, 50, 75, $100,000 in a trade, but the losses would be just as big. So, one thing I learned is that you have to learn to distinguish when the market's in your favor and when it isn't. And you have to understand that the market moves in waves. There's going to be days in a week where the market moves in one direction. As I say to my members last week, we had about a 13-week streak, about over 3 months, and then we had one stagnant week, and then we're currently riding another 5-week streak. So each day, each week of the market's different. You can't bet the same amount per trade. So if you understand this and you adapt it to your trading, you will do well. All right, so next question is, what is my trading style? What makes me different than other people? Okay, so first, I don't use any indicators. I mainly trade based off key support and resistance levels. I also watch price action and correlate it with SPY and SPX, right? So my goal is to simplify the trading process for everyone so they're able to produce consistent results. I see so many traders try and master technical analysis and use a ton of different indicators, which end up being distractions and can create a bias while trading. So since we've started, I've seen many members be able to replicate my trading style and find trades on their own. This has probably been one of the most rewarding parts of the service, because anyone can blindly follow alerts. Anyone can click a button and make money, but learning how to do it on your own is what will make the subscription worth your money and will make you a self-sufficient trader. So, with that being said, another part of trading that I think people don't really focus on because it's painful is the trading psychology. Like thinking about your habits, your daily mindset. So I want everyone to see firsthand by like watching me trade on a daily basis how these two things can equate to a much bigger profit margin. The importance of your mindset and patience. There's many different free online resources you can use to learn more about charting, but attempting to master this small component of trading doesn't mean it's going to improve your trading results. If you learn to master your mind and incorporate discipline and patience into your daily trading life, there can be a much higher probability of generating better time trades and improved profits in the long term. These parts of trading are constantly overlooked and underutilized. So this is what separated me from my peers, and I believe any of you can do the same. Everything that I use is right in front of you. There's no special formula. There's no secret indicator. The key to my success started, with my mind and my dedication to understanding why most people fail in stock and options trading. So, I've tried using strictly just technical analysis. I built a ton of false confidence through learning the externals about the market. But, what I realized over time is, in order to really generate wealth, you have to identify your daily flaws and mistakes that you think are normal. The small mistakes that you think aren't a big deal. Every decision you make matters. Every decision that you make has an effect on the way you trade, the profits you make, or the losses you realize. So throughout the years, I've met so many traders that dive so deep into technical analysis, attempting to gain a significant edge. And I've seen so many just end up quitting. So, rather than trying to learn how to fix what's wrong with them, most people try to look for, an edge in the market to distract themselves from what the real problem is. Nobody warns traders about the importance of developing a winning mindset. Nobody warns these traders the importance of waiting for the right trades. Each trade can be an emotional pitfall if you're not comfortable with it. The residual effect of a bad trade can shift the way you trade for the next 5 to 10 trades. I can't be in every winning trade. I find the trades that work for me, and that's why I've lasted as long as I have. You have to remember that trading is a lifelong journey. It's not a race to a particular money goal. There's going to be opportunities in your life where you'll make more money, either through your job, your family, or your winnings from trading. And you're going to be put in a situation where you'll have to trade with a bigger amount, much larger than you're used to. So everything that you do now, even if you have a small account, it's preparing you for these opportunities. So it's important to take every day seriously and treat trading like a business. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to show you guys how I find trades using TrendSpider charts. So give me a minute and I'm going to share my screen with you guys. One second. Oops, give me 1 second. All right, let's see here. Oops. All right, can you guys see my chart? Oh yeah, I can. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna choose shop. Seems like the most relevant stock to go over since it's been running for the past 2 weeks. All right, so as you see, I don't use any indicators. It's just a naked chart. So the first thing I would look at here is, okay, where's the first support level that I see? So the first level I would look at is right here, the 281 area. So, or 280, 281, 282. So this would be the first level. Okay, it's a double bottom at 281, and you could have caught the bottom here on November 8th. But if you missed that, especially in the last 2 weeks, the next level that I found was the most relevant that we caught in the service was the 325 level. So 325 failed a couple times on November 18th to the 20th. So in the shorter time frame, this is the most relevant area that showed the most resistance. So in the past 2 weeks, we had Black Friday, we had Cyber Monday, and then there was more positive news flow with shop. So if you could combine, I'm sorry. So in order to find the right trade, you have to not only be good at charting and understanding where the levels are at, you have to combine it with news as well, news and SPX. But I'll get into that in a sec. So yeah, so 325 would be the next level. So we entered that last week and we caught 325 up almost to the top, to the 340s. And then for this week, was a bit of a trickier one because SPX gapped down about 30 points on, I think, Monday. And it caused shop to drop down to 311. So we didn't jump in. We actually played puts on a couple different stocks on Monday. But once shop once shop reclaimed back over 320, even over, I'm so sorry, this is a horizontal. So once Shop printed a higher low, so we got 311 here. The low was 320 on the following day. That was an indication that, okay, Shop made a higher low. It didn't, because SPX went lower, but Shop didn't on that day. So that was the first indicator that, okay, Shop is showing some strength. And for the rest of the day, it ramped up. So how do you know where to enter? That's the next question. So for some traders in the room, they entered again at the 325 break. If you want to take less risk, you could have entered at 338. So 338 is another resistance level, and it goes as far back as June. And you see that on multiple days, it failed at this level. And you could even go as high as 350. Some people enter around 350. So depending on your risk tolerance, you can enter at different levels to ride it to the top. Like personally, I know some traders that made almost $1 million on this trade, riding Shop to the top. But there's so many different ways to play these levels, and it all depends on your risk tolerance. I know traders that waited for 330, 338, 339 to enter. I know traders that waited for 350, and some just got in right at the 325 break again. And it's that simple. There's really not much more to it other than knowing what the levels are, knowing what kind of news flow is happening for that stock. Are there, is there news being anticipated? Is there news already out? How's the market reacting? Are price targets being raised for the stock, and how does the stock react to that, right? So you have to align all of these things with SPX as well. So if SPX is down and Shop is up, then it's showing strength, right? So that's one part of how you find these trades and how you act on them, right? There's a whole other part that I explain to the members too. I'll just kind of talk about it very briefly. It's another topic, but it's very interesting. So I think earlier this week, I forget what day, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, the 355 call on Shop, the premiums weren't priced correctly. So Shop dropped about $1 to $1.50, but the Shop 355 call premium didn't change. And I asked people in the room, did anyone notice what just happened? And some people had some ideas, but no one, I don't think anyone really caught it, right? And I think the price was around between $3.50 and $4. And then the next day, I think those premiums went to over $20. So, being able to identify option premiums too, and seeing if they're mispriced is another big part of trading that I don't really know a lot of people that talk about it. But yeah, that's for another topic though. But yeah, so that's basically how I find my levels. It's pretty simple. The wider the time frame for the level that gets resisted or the support, the stronger the level is, right? And I try to find the most relevant levels. So these levels, they aren't hard to find, but being able to react and being able to interpret the information as quickly as possible, that's what's going to give you the edge when trading day to day. So I try to teach this to members on a daily basis. During the day, I'll post, I'll tweet out what I see, and I kind of quiz them sometimes of okay, what do you guys think about this? So yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just practice. It takes a lot of practice to be able to find the right trades at the right time. And it's been 9 years, so I expect myself to find them. But we're all at different levels of our trading journey, and I understand that. So I welcome all types of traders, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today. If you guys have questions, we can transition over to the question and answer segment.
Perfect. Yeah, if anyone has any questions at all, let's go through the questions tab. Is TrendSpider going to compete directly with platform? Any platform that has, charting capabilities, I think will somehow be a competitor, but we really want to be our own platform and have our own kind of innovative ways of doing things. So, we're always going to kind of have a little bit of a difference between any other company out there. But to answer MK's question, is there any limit on the number of alerts? So yes, each account has a different number of alerts. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly what the tiers are on that, but yes, each platform each plan is going to have a separate different number of alerts. I think the biggest amount of alerts is 125. Right now, you cannot have anything directly from NASDAQ. Once we have brokerage integration, you'll be able to get a lot more integrated data. From Jackson Cook, how do you identify if shop is going to drop on that double bottom instead of come back up? I think that was for Brando.
Okay, so next question, let's see, from Jackson. How do you identify if shop is going to drop on that double bottom instead of come back up? All right, so you don't know, right? It's all based on probability. So this is, but it's worth a shot, right? So when shop dropped back to 281 the first time, right? Back in June, it made a, let's see, 281 to 409, right? So it's over 100 points, 100 and what? Almost 130 points. So it's worth a shot here. If the next time it touches this level, it bounced 130 points. So you have to take a chance that, okay, if it bounced 130 points the first time, how much can it bounce again if it touches this level, right? And so far, let's see, it moved 281. It almost went 100 points, right? So you don't know if it's going to drop, but these are the type of chances that most traders that that are very what's the word? Like seasoned traders will take that shot 9 out of 10 times, right? Unless there's some type of news in the market that causes SPX to drop, a significant amount. In a normal market, 9 out of 10 times you have to take that trade. And if you didn't want to do the 281, you could have moved higher to 287 to be safer, because it also bounced here at 280, around 287, 286. All right, next question. Question from Jack. Can you talk about stop loss? If you got in and it breaks the support, for example, where would you get out? All right, so the thing about stop loss, it's going to be different for every trader, right? So, I've explained this to my members quite a few times. So like, for example, let's say I trade a $2 million account, right? And for each option I buy, I'm ready for it to go to zero, because the way I trade, I'm just giving hypothetical. So let's say the way I trade, I can let every option go to zero because I assume that my winners will be much bigger, right? So so that's one way to trade. Another way to do stop loss is based on the support and resistance level. So if it breaks, and you could do 2 points below or 3 points if that's how you trade, then you could do it that way. You could do a hard stop loss right at the level. There's so many different ways to do it. You just have to cater to your account size and your strategy, right? So it's hard for someone to tell you where to put a stop loss because every trader is different. We all have different risk tolerance. So yeah. All right, another question. If the stock is hitting a major support line, do you enter right away or do you use lower time frame to look and see if the level will hold? How do you figure out if the stock is going to hold support level before you get in? So yeah, kind of similar. All right, so basically each stock, each day is different. It all depends on what's happening that day, right? So like I said earlier, why is the stock dropping to major support line? Is it based on news? Is it just a technical sell-off? Is it based on something that, is it just based on the chart? So it's hard to give you one answer to apply to each situation. So I don't want to tell you like, okay, if it holds for 15 minutes, then you should get in, right? Because if it holds for 15 minutes and it drops on minute 16, then you're gonna blame me for following that type of guideline, right? So I don't know what other people teach, but for me, I try to tell everyone, all the members, you can't just pick one rule and stick to it because the market's constantly changing. All right. All right, question, your take on now. Okay, let me take a look. This one's been, all right, so I'll go over it really quickly. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like now, it looks like 283, 284, it's a pretty hard area. And then, let's see. I would say if it can't get back over 276, it's probably gonna fill this gap below to 268. And let's see. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it might get back to 268, maybe 251. I don't really know much about the stock. I don't trade it, but just looking at it chart wise, it looks like it's, yeah, the past 3 weeks, it's kind of stopped around 283, 284-ish. So it looks like it's ready for maybe a pullback. All right, great question from Jack. So Jack said, thank you for that fair answer, but the market can move in any direction. He goes, I'm new to the Twitter page. I'm looking at some recent tweets and some people commented that it's a scam service. By looking at the webinar, it seems unlikely. How can you clarify that those comments are about? So, you know, Twitter is a public forum. People have the right to say whatever they want. I think people have been saying that since I started, but there's no substantial evidence or any type of evidence to prove that. I think that, you know, most people are negative and most people will say things to make them feel better. So I don't really have much to say about that other than yeah, people just need to focus more on positive things.
Yeah, and I'll comment on that too. I mean, I used to be in the subscription business before I helped start TrendSpider, and everyone's, you know, no matter what you do in a subscription service, there's always going to be someone who's not happy. And if that person, you know, is salty enough, then they're going to say something on social media that usually is not true. So you got to watch out what people say on social media, whether it's positive or negative, because a lot of the time it's pretty baseless, especially in FinTwit.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jake.
Exactly. And you can also notice too, if you look into these particular people, if you're concerned, Jack, you can see that they just go around taunting people. And these people that have ever made these comments actually have never been members of our service. So if you go around, there always will be the same type of people, the same type of negative people. So again, just take it with a grain of salt, but it's good to be concerned about, you know, what you're paying for and things like that. But that's why we offer a free 2-day trial as well, so you can decide if you know, if the service is right for you, and you can verify everything we say is actually correct and not lies.
Yep. Okay. So next question: EMA or SMA? Which one do you prefer and why? So when I used to use those, I used the simple moving average more, but I don't really use them anymore. So I don't prefer any. All right. Are there any other questions for tonight?
Looks like somebody is still typing, but if not, you know, you have a trial, you can try it for free. Yep. You know, that's the main thing. You know, you guys can try the free trial on Trade with Insight as well as TrendSpider. So, you know, there's really no risk involved other than, you know, a lot of the time getting too emotionally connected to a stock is generally the how someone, you know, blows up their account. It's a lot of the time it's, you know, from emotional or psychological standpoint, someone just can't stand the stress and they end up making a bad trade. And, you know, it's always easy to blame someone else. So for those that have just started, you know, trading and just started the process of trading, just make sure to always kind of, you know, look at a bunch of different resources. Just looking at one single resource, especially one that isn't verified or, you know, from a well-known source, you always got to take it with a grain of salt. But these guys definitely have some good information. They use TrendSpider to really find some of those simple support and resistance levels. Some of the best guys that we've had on the webinars really do only use some very basic levels because as they mentioned, a lot of the other stuff can be noise a lot of the time. And it's really easy to get caught up in following almost too many indicators and getting confused. So, you know, if there aren't any other questions, but if there is already quite a few questions, autofib question mark. So in regards to the autofib is going to be connected to the trend settings. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick, and I can go over that a little bit. So can you guys see my screen? Yeah, there we go. So the auto fib is something that we just got a question about. So let's just go to random stock. Let's just do Twitter here, and we'll pull up the auto Fibonacci level. Just like any other level that trends find or anything like that, these levels are a function of whatever you're really looking at on the chart. So for example here, let me remove the Anchored View app. If we turn on the auto fib here, you're going to find this particular measured move from the very top of the range on the gap down from earnings, and then the very bottom here on October 31st. And so you can see how the price action has kind of respected these areas, especially the 0.618 area back in late November. So this is how you can utilize the auto fib. If we change the trends, let's say from wick to wick, body to body, you'll see how the system then is actually going to find a different measured move. But you can still see, interestingly enough, the measured move that it catches connecting this body to body, we still found resistance right at that 1.618 area before pulling back. So, nothing on the platform that's automated is there to replace what you're doing. It's there to be a secondary perspective or a second kind of eye that's watching the market for you, so you don't have to sit there and watch those important levels. The system's there watching whatever fib you're watching. Let's say you want to create alert on the 1.618. You go in and you can easily do that and create your sensitivity zones and that type of thing. So I hope that answered your question. I think this is back to Brando asking about pre-market data. They heard that pre-market price for support and resistance as well. Before I hand that off to Brando, I want to mention one thing about pre-market data. One thing that I recommend doing is looking at the spread a few hours before even pre-market opens, because you can get a very good idea of what the actual supply and demand is for good till canceled orders. So for example, let's say a stock is trading at $20, but in the middle of the night, the ask is $25. That means that there's nobody with a good till canceled order to sell until $25 above. So sometimes I look at those spreads during pre-market to see, what the range could be for the day. Anything else to add to that, Brando or John?
Yep. So pre-market data. So one part that I look at is, what's the pre-market high or pre-market low? And sometimes it can give you an idea of where the stock can move. And then another topic, but this is more advanced, is sometimes there's dark pool trades where you'll see a print way above where the current price is at, either really high or really low. And it's kind of a more advanced topic, but actually I'll just scratch that. So basically for pre-market data, I'll look at the pre-market high and pre-market low, and it could kind of give you an idea of where the stock could move during the day, or it could be like an intraday resistance level, even though it's not during the actual day. But I wouldn't look at it I wouldn't use too much weight on that type of data, but it'll give you an idea. It just gives you like a rough idea of where the stock could go.
Yeah, kind of like a bumper, if you will. To answer Ryan's question, is there a better way to measure option premium as the stock moves throughout the day? So we don't have any options data, so we do not have any way to chart that out or even show that price action. But once we integrate brokerage data, I'm assuming that type of information will become available. Same for you, Scott. Unfortunately, we just don't have options pricing. Brad, are you going to offer option premium price charts in TrendSpider? To answer your question, MK, I think that's something we'll integrate once we get the brokerage data integrated. And at some point next year, I really don't even want to give an estimate because it's probably going to be way off. KN, the trial's 2 day for Brando and John, and 7 days for TrendSpider.
Yep, I just want to make one announcement before you continue on, Jake. Since I don't know if you still had some closing things that you wanted to review. Just wanted to offer all you guys and say thank you again for you guys attending, of course, this conference and webinar. We're offering a $20 off your first month using the TrendSpider 2019 coupon code, as well as, which I'm sure you'll mention, Jake, the coupon code for TrendSpider as well, 20% off. Is Twin20, which he'll show in his slide. Just wanted to quickly show that. Not sure, Jake, when you plan on cutting it off.
Yep. Well, we are right at an hour, so we will probably cut it off now. One thing that I did want to mention here, we have we've gone over the roadmap a few times, but we always kind of have to change that based on just where we are with the dev team and where they are. So some of the things that we're working on this quarter, we are working on getting some new crypto data in. We've worked on the user experience on annotations. You can see that the annotations toolbar is new on the left side. We've added new indicators such as the anchored volume by price, something that I didn't really get into much, but make sure to check out our webinar on Sunday and I'll try to touch on that more. And in the first half of 2020, we did push back the market scanning capabilities to mid-January, as well as the watch list alerts. But we do hope to, get those out as soon as we possibly can. We had a little bit of trouble on the back end with the data providers, and that's what caused the delay there. But we continue to really try to push out new features as quickly as we can, and really appreciate everybody continuing to attend these webinars to check out what's new and how to use TrendSpider kind of on a day-to-day basis. Thank you everybody again for your time this Thursday. The coupon code that you can use for 20% off for up to 12 months is Twin20. And a big thank you again to Brando and John for joining and telling us a little bit about their subscription service, as well as how you guys can get started and check it out. So without further ado, if you guys want to say anything, last words, please do. But that is all I have, and everyone have a fantastic night.
Thank you so much, Jake and TrendSpider, for having us on. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us. Appreciate everyone here. Thank you.
All right, guys. Tomorrow's Friday, the last day of trading. Hope everyone has a great trading day. And trade safe, trade smart, and we'll see you on Sunday.